With that, then we'll go to the next game. It is the Warriors taking on the Dragons, and the Warriors have made a fair amount of changes, to be fair. Tuivasa Sheck is back to fullback after Reece Walsh pulled out of Origin with a leg injury. Wateni Zalesniak is to debut on the wing. Pompey and Montoya will be your centres, with Corsi in the 5. Of course, Ewan Aitken is currently in isolation after he boarded a flight in which a cabin crew member tested positive for COVID. Him and Josh Curran are the two. Chad Townsend is back in a Warriors shirt, and he will be wearing the number 7. Murdoch Masilla is back in the 12. Evans off the bench into a prop. Egan in the 9. Tavonga relegated to the bench. And then Sirenen is also featured on the bench as well. So quite a few changes for the Warriors, but they have got some size in there. Worthwhile mentioning Elise Katoa in that lineup as well. He's back, and he's going to be looking dangerous. As for the Dragons, very limited amounts of changes. They still line up relatively similar as they would in the backs. The only change in their backs is there is no Ravalawa this week. So Beale will drop to the wing, and Bird will come out of the second row into the centre. DeBellin will start, and then most of their changes are on the bench, with Maguire, Burns, Alvaro, and Fue Mayono coming in to make up the Dragons bench.
Yeah, another tough one to pick, but not for the same reasons as the Storm and the Dragons. This game doesn't scream quality to me, but it absolutely screams quantity. This Dragons defense, at the best of times, is a solid top 8 defense. At its worst, it leaks like who knows what. Add whatever adage you want into there. The Warriors attack, it's the same. At its best, it is one of the most electric attacks in the competition. At its worst, it clunks like a steel ship. It's hard to see how this one goes. The addition of Townsend, I think, means that Nikorima can play more of a running game like he prefers. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck at the back, I think, provides a little bit more confidence, a little bit more fluidity, more knowledge of Nikorima's game, as opposed to Walsh, who, don't get me wrong, is a superb player, but again, 7 NRL games, still trying to find his mark and get the fluidity of the attack. Fanua Blake, Kane Evans, I don't want those two running at me to start, especially when you have Bunty Afoa, Leeson Armau, and Jazz Tavanga coming off the bench. That's scary. I would have brown streaks down my legs if I had those 5 running at me at any given time. The move of Tohu Harris into 13, I think, is good. I think that's his spot. I love Josh Curran as a player. Think he's great. Don't really know if he's a lock. And, I mean, even when you watch Warriors games, he plays lock for about 20 minutes. And as soon as someone like a Kane Evans comes on or goes off, depending on whether he starts or is on the bench, he then goes to second row and Harris comes into the middle anyways. So it makes more sense for Harris just to be there. When Curran comes back, he'll go back to the 11, I would imagine, and Katoa would push Murdoch Masilla to the bench, but I'm not overly sure. Matt Duffy back for the Dragons is big. He is their one and only attacking spark in this side. Tyrell Sloan looked superb last week. He was brilliant. But I'm worried that he's at the Dragons. I'm really worried because he's at the Dragons. But Duffy at least brings the pressure off of Ben Hunt and Corey Norman to try and create something. It's not now just those two. They at least can lean on Duffy as well. In terms of a tip, Warriors 1-12. If you're looking to play a margin, the line at 2.5, I'd say the Warriors get that. I just think they're gonna run rings around the Dragons. I don't know if it's going to be fluid. And as a result, that's why I'm going 1-12, because I think Jack Bird's going to try and go over on Adam Pompey, and Ramsey will hopefully leap up over Edward Cossey, because Ramsey is one of my anytime try scorer bets. If you want to look at another one on the Warriors side, you could make a big shout for Watene Zelezniak back playing in New Zealand, making his club debut. It's his nation that he plays for nationally. He wants to start off well over there. You can also make a shout for Chad Townsend at a price purely because he's back where he started his career. Now, he and Sean Johnson were the combination for a year and a half, and it was a great combination. He's currently paying $4.50 on Sportsbet. It's a spec at a price, but New Zealand Warriors, the line's 2.5. I'm going with that, and I will go with Watene Zelezniak anytime, Cody Ramsey anytime. Throw him into a multi, as our friends at Sportsbet load. They don't want to tell me. I would think that's about an $8 multi.
Okay. I am going to controversially back the Dragons here. I'm going to go 1 to 12. And my reasoning for this is you have way too many unfamiliar pairings in the backs. Watene Zelezniak and Pompey have never played a game together. They don't know how they're going to gel as a wing centre pairing. That immediately screams danger for me. Montoya and Corsi. Montoya isn't naturally a centre. He's a winger more than anything, and Corsi's going to be basically put outside him to shield him. So, again, unfamiliar. Corsi's only got a handful of NRL games under his belt. Nikorima and Townsend. Townsend will come in as the dominant playmaker. Nikorima will go for the runs, and they'll try and basically open them up that way. It's just a case of how much time have these guys had to gel? How much time have they had to build that cohesion and that attacking? You know, as you mentioned, the fluidity in attack is very much key. And I just worry that the Warriors have got too many changes in there for it to be as fluid. And you know what? The Warriors are a team that love to catch me out, love to turn up on a game where I've tipped them to have a bad one. But I don't necessarily think that this will be a bad game. I mean, you go to the history books on this one. Last game between these two, 20 points to 14 in favour of the Warriors. The game before that, 30th of May 2020. 18-0 in favour of the Warriors. It's a tight game. It's always a tight game when these two play. Again, form-wise, Warriors 1 in their last 5, Dragons 2 in their last 5. They're both teams that are not performing at their best, and they're teams that are basically just trying to come up and find a little bit of form towards the end of the season now and try and make that push for the 8. And I just think, for whatever reason, I think the Dragons have got this one. So I'm going to say Dragons 1 to 12. Again, back the under on this one. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points in it. I think it could be potentially a little bit of a scrappy game. As we mentioned, you know, players that aren't used to each other don't have that natural game playing chemistry. There's a chance for a bit of a misfire on some passes. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw an interception try in here. You know, somebody throws a pass and the runner's just in the wrong spot. Player picks it off and goes. If I was going to say that there's a player that does that, I'd probably, like you, I'd say that is probably Cody Ramsey. But I'm going to go the other side. I'm going to go. In fact, no, I'm going to go with his centre. I'm going to back Braden Williami for a try here. He comes up against Montoya and Corsi. Williami has got a lot. You know, he plays second row when playing internationally for Fiji. He's a compact, very strong player. Got a great fend on him. Getting close to the line, I reckon that he manages to push away and go through. So, Dragons 1 to 12, back the under, and Williami anytime try scorer for me.
I'm licking my lips at that. That's nice. That's really nice odds. Dragons 1 to 12. The under currently at 50.5. Williami anytime try scorer $17.